All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Inflation Reduction Act Town Hall. My name is Angela Shu, and I'm the Municipal Engagement Manager with the Illinois Environmental Council. Thank you to our amazing co-hosts, the offices of Senator Tammy Duckworth, Representative Nikki Budzinski, and Senator Paul Faraci. And thank you to United Congregations of the Metro East and Sierra Club Piasa Palisades Group. Thank you also to our guest speakers, Jeremiah Rivera from the United States Department of Energy, and also to John DeRosa from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. So first, I'd like to pass the microphone over to Senator Faraci for some welcoming remarks.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this, and we appreciate everybody jumping on the call. I just want to thank, of course, the IRA. This is allowing Illinois to become a hub for energy innovation, economic development, workforce development, and of course, improve healthcare access and affordability. And so that's a broad umbrella, of course, but really appreciate the interface between this group, what IRA is doing, and the impact on our community. So thank you for allowing us to be here. I may not be able to stay on too long, but I'm interested in hearing more about what everyone has to say.
Thank you so much, Senator. And I share that excitement as well about what we learned today in our webinar. So before we begin, I do want to go over some housekeeping. Attendees are automatically muted upon entry to the webinar. We will have a moderated question and answer session following this presentation. And if you have any questions for our presenters today, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you to my colleague Max for helping us moderate. Our informational town hall will have a lot of information, but rest assured that the recording and a Q&A will be shared with you after this presentation. So now I'd like to start the webinar with a word from Representative Nikki Budzinski.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nikki Budzinski, and I'm honored to represent the 13th District of Illinois in Congress. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you about the impact of the Inflation Reduction Act on our climate and in our communities. Whether it's wildfires in Canada, hurricanes in the Gulf Coast, or flooding and severe storms here in Illinois, we are seeing the effects of climate change in this country every single day. We cannot afford to wait any longer to take action to preserve a healthy planet for the next generation. And that's exactly why we're here to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act today. The Inflation Reduction Act is a once-in-a-generation investment into the fight to protect our climate. In my district alone, it has delivered tens of millions of dollars to upgrade public transit and school buses to low-emission alternatives, and has spurred nearly $1 billion of investment in clean energy projects. The IRA also made millions of Americans eligible for tax credits that will make it easier and more affordable for them to upgrade to more efficient appliances, purchase an electric vehicle, install energy systems at home, and save money on their energy bills. The IRA is also an opportunity for historic economic growth and job creation as we usher in the clean energy transition. Before coming to Congress, I had the chance to lead Climate Jobs Illinois, where I worked hand in hand with the IEC in our effort to pass the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. My task was to bring climate advocates and labor leaders to the same table, and together we passed historic carbon reduction targets while also setting the strongest labor standards in the country, a win for workers and a win for our environment. Now I'm proud to lead the Climate Jobs Task Force for the House Sustainable Energy and Environment Coalition, where I'm working to bring labor and environmental groups together as we push for a clean energy future powered by good paying union jobs. As I'm fighting for climate solutions that benefit workers and our economy, I'm also working on the House Agriculture Committee to protect the Inflation Reduction Act's historic investment in climate-smart agriculture. Investments that the family farmers I serve in central and southern Illinois are using to improve soil quality and sustainability. The Inflation Reduction Act funding for climate-smart conservation is particularly important in Illinois. It's essential to preserve these resources that our farmers rely on and protect critical climate-smart guardrails for IRA funding in this year's Farm Bill. Tackling our climate challenges is a team effort, and I'm so grateful to have an incredible partner in the Illinois Environmental Council. From conservation funding to clean bus grants and energy efficiency tax credits, today's webinar is a great opportunity to get folks connected with federal resources to implement climate solutions in our communities. And while my office is always here to help with any questions you may have, thank you again for having me, and thank you for all that you do to advocate for our environment each and every day.
And thank you so much to the Congresswoman and her team. All right, and so with that, I'll be sharing some information about the Illinois Environmental Council. So we were founded in 1975, and we work to safeguard Illinois, people, plants, and animals, and natural systems on which all life depends by building power for people and the environment. We represent over 150 environmental organizations operating in the state, and we carry out our mission to advance equitable public policies that create healthy environments across Illinois through collaboration, building power, and advocacy. And we do this across 6 different areas, including agriculture, conservation, clean energy, transportation, clean water, and zero waste. And again, this is through policy advocacy, through building coalitions and legislator education. So why are we gathered today to talk about the IRA? Well, that's because it is the largest investment in clean energy in United States history. It is by far the most significant action our nation has ever taken on climate change. We've seen investments are projected to achieve up to 40% reduction in climate pollution by 2030. And we're already seeing these impacts across the state. We're seeing transformational climate action, and these projects are underway, and they're creating hundreds of thousands of good, clean energy jobs. And we cannot talk about the IRA without first mentioning CEJA, the 2021 Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, the most equitable clean energy jobs bill of its kind in the nation. We'll learn today how CEJA laid the groundwork to make federal funding opportunities possible in Illinois. So let's take a look at just a few of the programs. This image is not comprehensive, but shows a few of the buckets of funding that we'll talk about today. So for example, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, the Rural Energy for America program, and also the very important climate justice and environmental justice programs under the IRA. In addition, and separate from those, we have various tax credits, reductions, and rebates, as well as direct pay. So I mentioned the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, or the GGRF. It's a program under the US EPA. These can be used to create state or city green banks, and green banks are important sources of low-cost capital for emerging clean tech sectors in a state. So under CEJA, the Green Bank in Illinois was created. The Illinois Finance Authority, or IFA, was authorized to establish the Illinois Climate Bank, allowing them to apply for IRA programs on behalf of the state. So some really great news came to Illinois, where in April, we were awarded $156 million to deliver residential solar, lower energy costs, and advancing environmental justice. So for example, now under the GGRF, the US EPA has a US Solar for All program that now can expand the Illinois Solar for All and Illinois Shines. Next, the CPRG, or the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, is another program that helps states and local governments and metropolitan statistical areas implement policies that facilitate climate pollution reduction. So states had to compile a priority climate action plan that laid the groundwork for the next phase of this competitive implementation. And another great piece of news that we see and success in Illinois, Illinois was awarded more than $430 million for these community-driven solutions to cut climate pollution. And this is across the transportation, workforce, energy, and power sectors. So this is very exciting news all coming to our state. Another important program is for Illinois farmers and rural small businesses from the Rural Energy for America program. So under REAP, in the second half of 2023 alone, over 200 Illinois farms and rural small businesses received funding for these renewable energy projects. And we did mention the environmental and climate justice programs. They fund financial assistance and technical assistance for programs that benefit underserved and overburdened communities. Congress has appropriated $2.8 billion for financial assistance and $200 million for technical assistance. These community change grants are just one such program. There's $2 billion in IRA funds for environmental and climate justice activities to benefit disadvantaged communities. Additionally, the US EPA and the US DOE selected 16 environmental justice thriving communities technical assistance centers, also known as EJ TICTACs. You'll hear a lot of acronyms today, to receive $177 million to help underserved communities across the country. The Great Lakes TICTAC provides information on current federal funding opportunities, helps to navigate which opportunities match needs, and offers guidance throughout the application process. Sometimes they can offer additional support by partnering with community organizations on concept developing and planning, engineering consultation, GIS mapping, and post-award grant management as well. So this is a really exciting opportunity for technical assistance if you're seeking those grant projects. So next, I'd like to talk about energy communities. The IRA invested $10 billion in qualifying advanced energy project credit or 48C programs. The Treasury, the IRS, and US DOE announced up to $4 billion in a first round of tax credits for clean energy manufacturing, recycling, processing, and greenhouse gas reduction at industrial facilities. $1.6 is set aside for projects in energy communities, providing an investment tax credit up to 30% for certified projects that meet prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements. The Energy Community Tax Credit Bonus applies a bonus of up to 10% for production tax credits or investment tax credits for these projects located in energy communities. So what is an energy community? It's defined by the IRA as a brownfield site or a metropolitan statistical area or regions and counties where a coal mine has closed after 1999 or where a coal-fired electric generating unit has been retired after 2009. So fueled by historic levels of federal investment opportunities, the mission of the Interagency Working Group on Coal and Power Plant Communities is to drive more funding and resources to these energy communities quickly to help to rebuild and diversify their economies. They engage with state and local officials, community groups, labor unions, universities, and more. They listen to the needs and prioritize and coordinate federal actions to support community-led experts and efforts to spur economic revitalization. With the coal industry in decline, traditional energy communities are at risk of being left behind in a rapidly evolving economy. So the IRA, as well as the bipartisan infrastructure law, build on annual appropriations, creating once-in-a-generation opportunities to invest billions of dollars in America's energy communities. So over the long term, these investments will actually help drive good jobs in everything from clean energy and advanced manufacturing to tourism, entrepreneurial hubs, and more. So this is another really great and exciting opportunity. And there are many credits and deductions under the IRA. So for example, the Clean Energy Electricity Investment Tax Credit provides a tax credit for an investment in facilities that generate clean electricity. And on top of these several tax credit opportunities, we also see bonus credits that can stack, also called adders. We have, for example, a low-income communities bonus tax credit that provides up to a 20% increase to this tax credit for qualified solar and wind energy facilities. And we also have a domestic content tax credit or adder that applies to renewable energy facilities that are constructed with a minimum percentage of produced and manufactured components from the United States, providing a 10% bonus for facilities financed by these tax credits that comply with apprenticeship requirements. And so, as you can see, we have this tax credit, and then building on top of those, you can add on these adders that stack up. And this is a really great example. You can even get half back from these tax credits. Another really great program under the IRA is called elective pay, also known as direct pay. Municipalities and other applicable entities are eligible for direct pay, making clean energy investments easier. Government entities can, for the very first time, directly receive a payment equal to the full value of tax credits for building qualifying electrified projects. You have to go through a pre-filing registration process through the IRS, and then you can make these claims by making election on your annual tax return. If you make an investment, you get the money. The funds are not competitive, and it's also not capped, which means that you can keep claiming these credits annually. Again, the benefit is that these funds are received directly from the IRS. And these different entities can use direct pay for several of the IRA's tax credits, building on those investments that we talked about earlier. Now, home efficiency, electrification, and appliance rebates are helpful to homeowners and renters by lowering the cost of purchasing environmentally friendly appliances from home upgrades. And we'll actually hear more about this today from the Illinois EPA. And benefits are also available to local governments, nonprofits, and individuals who recently purchased an electric vehicle, either used or new, who are looking to electrify their cars or their fleets. So these are some of those programs. So if you bought an American-made electric vehicle in 2023, you can get up to a $7,500 tax credit back. And the last item that I'll leave you with is going to be the Climate Program Portal. It was created as a resource to share these federal funding updates where municipal leaders and decision makers can easily make an account. It pulls together summary data under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the IRA, and you can actually go to their Project Finance Hub if you're looking to start a clean energy project. And you can look up technical assistance, you can look at the resource library, as well as contact the portal if you have any questions. And with that, thank you so much for listening to my presentation. And I will now pass the microphone over to Darnell Tingle, Executive Director of United Congregations of the Metro East. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darnell Tingle. I'm the Executive Director of United Congregations of Metro East. And I really want to talk to folks today about the impact that CEJA is having in our community. Wanted to name, first of all, that in the community that we're serving in, one of the communities that we're serving in, the median income for an individual is $21,000. Whereas the median income for a family is $28,000. Now, today's society with inflation and everything going up, that's not a lot of money. Not a lot of change can happen with that. But thanks to the CEJA Act, we are now part of a coalition or a group that's been awarded to be a navigator to the Workforce Hub, where we will be able to go out and recruit individuals to get these special skills needed in this new green economy to get generational wealth, to create generational wealth. And more importantly, to build a community here in East St. Louis where in other times it couldn't happen. We see that these jobs in this community will raise the profile of East St. Louis. It will raise the economy of East St. Louis. Wages will increase drastically. Generational wealth will be created. And also while doing that in this green economy, we're protecting the climate, but more importantly, we are protecting people. People who have oftentimes felt forgotten in Southern Illinois. And we're excited about what this CEJA Act is doing and what the IRA is creating for us in those funds to do that. This community has become more conscious environmentally and recognizing the environmental racism that's happening. And more importantly, we're getting folks who normally have not been engaged in this work engaged in it. And so we're really excited about what this is going to look like in creating not only generational wealth, but opportunity for individuals to stay in community and build this great community. And so the impact that the IRA and CEJA have done has been, though just starting implementation, has been incredible. And we're really looking forward to furthering this implementation and making it better than it's ever been. So really wanted to thank President Biden and others for this opportunity to give to Illinois and for us as individuals that have pushed the CEJA Act that made that very real for us. That's all I've got, Angela. Want to be short and sweet. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Darnell, for your presentation, and even more so for the crucial and impactful work that you all are doing at UCM. Next, we'll pass the microphone over to Jeremiah Rivera with the United States Department of Energy, Office of Community Engagement.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be invited here, speaking to you all from Houston, Texas, where I live and work remotely. All this information is based towards local government and CBOs, but there's plenty going on in the Department of Energy. So if we move on to the next slide, we can start talking about some of those resources, including myself. I'm with the Office of Community Engagement, or OCE for short. Right now, you've heard a little bit about this. This is a transformative time for the Department of Energy. If you just want to pull up all the bullet points here, I'll read through them. The important thing to take from this slide, if we can go one back, is that through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act, the department has received almost 100 billion with a B in one-time funding opportunities, where we're supercharging the work we've already been doing at the department, which includes research and development, commercialization of technology that will lead to either cleaner technology down the road. But when you think about what it means to have a clean energy economy, it's everything that goes along with it. It's not just that R&D. It's not just deploying certain technologies like solar and wind. There's workforce development. We have to have the workforce of the future that can maintain, install that technology. It's helping local governments and CBOs think about EV integration into the grid, upgrading our grid, upgrading our buildings so that way our buildings and our homes are more energy efficient. So there's a ton going on. It's really pretty mind-blowing when you take a deep dive into all of it. And if we move into the next slide, that's going to lead into the formation of the Office of Community Engagement, or OCE. So we are actually a new office ourselves. So we've been around for about 1.5 years, and it was we were basically put together at the behest of Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm, who saw that with all of this new funding and all of the new constituents that this program is designed for, we needed an office that just engaged with communities. That's our full-time job. So we are here to help connect you to the resources within the Department of Energy that you need to take control of your clean energy transition. I promise you I could have made this presentation 1.5 hours and not gone through everything. So we're here to have like those deep dive conversations with you. So you can go ahead and skip this slide. This is just really talking about what I just mentioned, that we're here to connect you to resources through the Department of Energy. We are place-based. I actually have, I don't want to say jurisdiction, but my outreach is focused in the southern region of the country. So I am always happy to answer your questions or connect you to my appropriate colleague or to the direct resources you need. I need to update this slide. Bobby's no longer with the department, but we do have that contact. Angela, I'll send you that contact info after this presentation. But I don't want to dissuade any of you. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me, and I will always either answer that or put you in contact with the right person. At the bottom right of the screen, you can also see our general phone number, and you can also follow us on LinkedIn for mostly relevant updates, daily updates. Moving on to the next slide. One opportunity that I wanted to bring up, and there's a lot of bullet points here. This is coming up around the corner, the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program, or ECBG for short, is designed for local governments, including cities and counties, to help take charge of the clean energy transition. This is a formula program. Almost 2,000 local governments are eligible for this. There's 14 different tracks that can be used with this money, including vouchers. So you can use this if you don't have something that you're wanting to do clean energy wise, that's right around the corner. You can use vouchers to buy technical assistance for equipment. That application deadline for local governments is October 31st. Tribal nations have till May 31st. So there's still time to apply for this. If you click a couple more bullet points, we have a ton of great technical assistance from the program team here. They're hosting office hours twice a week. We can go back one. Yeah. There's illustrated blueprint examples. So if you know this is something that you're eligible for and you want to apply for and don't know where to start, there's a ton of great information out there, including the program office, which is very responsive. So moving on to the next slide, which is still about ECBG, but just to kind of give you some examples, if you want to pull all these up, these are real world examples of what local governments have done. So you can see there's a broad range of opportunity here. So in Chicago, they're doing 4 or 5 different things with their grant: education and outreach, electrification of government vehicles. They're looking at putting together an EV charging station. Ann Arbor is doing some resilience efforts for their community center. I won't go through this entire list because I don't like it when I'm read to bullet by bullet on PowerPoint presentation, so I assume that's the same. But you'll also see Minneapolis, that's the last one I'll mention here. They're developing direct services for low-income residents. So there's just a ton of flexibility with this grant. This is a one-time grant, so it won't come back next year under. So if this is something that you're eligible for as a local government, highly encourage you to apply before October 31st. We can move on to the next slide. Those are just more examples. This is another awesome opportunity for local governments and community-based organizations, the C2C, or Clean Energy Communities Program. This is free technical assistance for our national labs to help you plan your clean energy transition with near-term projects. There's 3 different tracks. The one I'll spotlight here is our expert match track, where you can get 40 to 60 hours of free technical assistance to help you design your clean energy programs. It's a rolling application period and it's still open as of today. So you have time to put this your application in. It's a really short process to do so. This is not a heavy lift. And we have some examples on the next page. If we can transition to that slide. These are just some that are on the website. So you can see here, the very first one was an innovative idea to help Black farmers in Florida put solar panels not only on the fields, but also in their places of worship. The second opportunity here mentioned is helping a local government think through their EV plans. And then the third one was a really cool opportunity for helping retrofit historical buildings. So again, this is another opportunity where it's very flexible. If you don't know where to start with your clean energy transition, but you know you have ideas, this is definitely a great resource to help you think through what that looks like for your community. Moving on to the next opportunity. This is a very flexible funding called American Made Challenges. If we go to the next slide, these are a group of individual opportunities that constantly refresh. This is meant to be flexible. This is meant to be easy to apply for. This is meant for reporting requirements to not be overly burdensome. Someone can apply for these. So I have an example of one. If we go to the next slide, the Good Jobs and Clean Energy Prize is a place-based consortium opportunity. This is meant to help build coalitions in your local communities. If we move up one more bullet point, yeah, so eligibility, this is a team-based prize to bring together at least as part of that coalition, a labor organization, one employer, a CBO, one public agency, and at least one education workforce provider, excuse me. But there's a ton of different individual opportunities out there. There's a Lasso Energy Prize, which is meant to help farmers bring EV charging, bring solar panels to where their cattle are grazing. That one just launched. There's like I said, a ton. I would definitely recommend bookmarking the American Made Challenges Prize because that is constantly refreshing. But with this one, just to wrap up, Good Jobs and Clean Energy. If you move one more bullet point, you'll see the application is January 31st. So there's still time to build your coalition and submit your application. And the links to that will be the next 2 clicks. Yeah, one more. So the prize page and application page are both there. And one more, I think I have on the slide deck for y'all. This is just a bunch of different dashboard tools that you can have access to and use. This is open for the general public. I won't demonstrate all of these. If you just want to pull up all of them, there's 4 different ones. There's a CJES tool, which is used across all the federal agencies with the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act. We have an energy justice dashboard where you can see where we've made investments since 2019. A really cool school tool, which will tell you about your individual schools, your school district, and a community benefits map, which is a whole hour presentation on its own, so I won't go into much detail there. But just for context and just to wrap up, I would say every 2 weeks, the Department of Energy is releasing 6 to 12 different funding opportunities, technical assistance opportunities, helpful reports. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Always feel free to reach out to the Office of Community Engagement, and we can connect you to the resources you need to drive that clean energy transition. And it's our full-time job, so I promise you it's not a burden to us. We hope to hear from you and hope to help you meet your energy goals moving down the way. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. And I've been tuning into the USDOE, the Office of Community Engagement office hours, and I found them to be very helpful. So if any of you are interested, I highly recommend that. And next, I'll pass the microphone over to John DeRosa from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Angela. Hi, everyone. Really glad to be here today. and update you on where our IRA home energy rebate program is currently at and what some of the opportunities that will be available through that. Next slide, please. The Illinois EPA Office of Energy supports energy efficiency, resiliency, and clean energy through public partnerships and interagency collaborations to reduce the energy burden and improve energy equity in Illinois. And we do this by investing in the public sector, advancing energy equity, combining energy and the environment, and supporting energy education. Next slide. Thank you. A little bit about where we're located at Illinois EPA. Most of you are probably familiar with the Bureau of Land, Water, and Air. The Office of Energy falls in the Associate Director's office. Heather Nifong is the Associate Director. And within the Office of Energy, we have 6 team members. We were at 3 about 12 months ago, and we've since doubled. As you just heard, through the bipartisan infrastructure legislation and the IRA, there was a lot of additional funding that came through the Office of Energy. A lot of that has to go through the Office of Energy based on the legislation. So it was allocated here to the Illinois EPA Office of Energy. Next slide, please. So we have a few funding sources here at the Illinois EPA Office of Energy. We've traditionally received state energy program funds through DOE. We received additional state energy program funds through Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or the Bipartisan Infrastructure legislation, and also the Inflation Reduction Act. And I'm really going to focus on our Inflation Reduction Act funds that we received today. We do have some additional state funds for energy efficiency programs, and you can see what the funding opportunities are for those on our website, and I'll drop that in the message box here once I'm done with this presentation. So here are the 2 IRA home energy rebate programs that came to the Office of Energy. We have the Home Energy Efficiency Rebate Program and the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebate Program. Both of these programs were funded right around $132 million each, one a little bit less. And the one thing I will say is that we have 7 years to use this funding. So the program period is from the time of our application award and goes through September 30th of 2031. And with this funding came a lot of requirements and rules and innovative efficiency and technology uses, that we're working to build into the state's home energy rebate program. Next slide, please. So here are some examples of what would fall under each of the rebate programs. For the home energy efficiency rebate program, it could be things like building, insulation, window replacement, space heating and cooling equipment, hot water equipment, lighting upgrades, anything that's going to hit the energy efficiency or energy savings goals that's required by the funding. On the electrification and appliance rebate program, some examples would be, let me step back here. The goal of this program is to move from gas or combustion appliances to electrifying the home. So the technologies that you will see here are electric heat pump, HVAC, heat pump water heaters, electric stove, heat pump clothes dryers. There are some funds here for upgrading your breaker box or electrical wiring, as if you're going to electrify the home, you may need some additional space within the breaker box or additional wiring that has to be ran in the home. Next slide, please. I have this slide here because it's going to be important for the funding. The different funding thresholds will be based on area median income, and for low income it will be 80% or less than 80%, and there will also be another category moderate that'll be 80% area median income all the way up to 150 area median income, and this is at a county level, so each county will have a different, a different threshold depending on the amount of people that are living within the household. Next slide, please. All right, so here's how the rebate program will work for the home efficiency rebate program. So we have, I just mentioned there's a less than 80% AMI category, and then there's an 80 AMI to 150 AMI level as well. In addition to that, there's different levels based on the energy savings that can be accounted for in the home. So if the home, and how, let me step back. So how that will be determined, each home will have to go through an energy audit. And it's an approved software by the U.S. Department of Energy. It has to meet a certain standard called BPI 2400, which we're working to get built into our system for our single family residential homes. But so there's a threshold of if you achieve 20 to 34% energy efficiency and you're less than 80 AMI, you could receive up to $4,000 for the energy efficiency project. And if it's 35% or greater, you could receive up to $8,000. Now these numbers right here, I do want to say were the suggested amounts from DOE. Illinois, and I'll talk a little bit more about where we are in the application process, but Illinois is looking to double those amounts based on some data that we have through our weatherization program. And our goal is also to allow up to 100% of the funding. So it won't be 80% of the project costs. We're really looking to pay for these things 100% in Illinois. We don't want anybody to have to take out a loan, especially if you're in the low income category. And there's different ways we can do that by stacking and braiding funds with existing programs and even existing utility programs in Illinois. Next slide, please. So that was for the single family residential home, what we just talked about. The multifamily is very similar setup. So it has the same energy efficiency targets, same amounts per dwelling unit. But the one thing that is a little bit different is that there are caps on the building. So we have maximum per building of $200,000 if they meet the 20 to 34% energy savings goal. And if you meet 35% or greater, a building could receive up to $400,000. And the same thing, we're going to look to double these per dwelling unit rebate amounts. So it'd be $8,000 and $16,000. We're still waiting for DOE approval. All right, so here's the home electrification and appliance rebate program. We went through all the different options before, but you can see here the amounts. So an example, heat pump, heating or cooling unit can get up to $8,000. Electric stove or heat pump dryer could get up to $840. If you are going to update or upgrade the breaker box, a dwelling could receive up to $4,000 for that. The maximum amount here for an individual address or home would be $14,000 here. We do plan to include all of these options. They may not all be available right at the launch, but they will be options that will be available at some point in time. And this just talks about the eligibility requirements. Less than 80% AMI will be eligible to receive 100% of the rebate amounts. 80 to 150 AMI, area median income, will receive 50% of the amounts. And the same thing, if you're a multifamily, would be the same thing. The one thing I didn't mention earlier, in the multifamily units, 50% of the occupants would have to meet the area median income level in order for it to meet the certain eligibility requirements also. Next slide, please. This is just a breakdown of the home efficiency rebate program, kind of showing you how the funding is split up. So we had about 132 million, 20% max amount of that can go towards administration. So DOE really wants to make sure that the incentive is getting out to the homeowners. And there are some other requirements. For around 40% has to go towards low income households. So that's less than 80% AMI. And that ends up being around 42, almost 43 million. And then the other part of that is 10 million has to go towards low income multifamily housing. And this is a similar slide with the electrification and appliance rebate. Same concept here. The way it's split up, 20% max for admin, and then it's split up based on the low income categories for households and multifamily. So that's kind of how the rebates are structured as far as like a rebate amount. An additional task is that the state has to do several implementation blueprints, and these are the 6 key categories that have to be completed. We have a community benefits plan, education and outreach strategy, consumer protection plan, utility data access plan, privacy and security risk assessment for the systems being used here at the state, and also a market transformation plan. Market transformation plan is due 1 year after award date, and market transformation is really looking at once the funding is gone or has been used, how does this industry stay alive, and why do people want to continue to build their homes or retrofit them to make them energy efficient? So what's the value in that? All right, next slide, please. We are in a lot of ongoing discussions. We are working with the utilities and on a regular basis. It's important to work with the utility entities because part of our program, especially for the single family residential efficiency program, we do need access to utility data in order for the software requirements for the energy auditing software to meet DOE requirements. So it's going to be very critical that we are working with them. And then also they have existing energy efficiency programs. So places where we can braid the funds together to make the projects get to a zero cost will be important. So we're working closely on how we could do that. And then we're also in conversations with the cooperatives and municipal utilities as well. As I mentioned earlier, we rely heavy on interagency collaborations. We are a small office, but by legislation, a lot of this funding has to come through us. It may not always make sense for it to be here. So we are finding where it does make sense and where it should go. So we are working very closely with Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, especially on the home efficiency and rebate programs. A lot of the program will be built through their existing infrastructure. And in addition, we are working with them through interagency collaborations on the workforce training programs for this. There will be some focus on 3 CEJA hubs throughout the state: Northern, Southern, and Central /Eastern CJ hubs where some of this training will be taking place. We did receive some funding from DOE from this past year for around $5 million. We're just waiting for the award, which should be coming pretty soon. We've applied for energy auditor training funding as well. One thing that we do know is that we have to build up the workforce in Illinois, especially with the extra demand for all of the energy efficiency work that is coming. Or with the demand, we have to build up the workforce. We're working closely with Illinois Finance Authority also. We have an interagency collaboration with them for revolving loan fund for bridge loans using the elect-to-pay tax credits that were mentioned earlier. We should have a product up available with that and by July of this next year. And we've been in conversations with the work being done with the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant. We're making sure that we're not doing similar projects and that we're filling gaps and there isn't any overlaps with the IRA work. Next slide, please. I'm almost done here. So this was the timeline of how things kind of, when things were initiated and kind of where we are now is really what I want to update everybody on. Applications from DOE were due January 2025, but there definitely was strong urgency to get these in sooner and so we could start the work. In May of this year, we submitted for early administrative dollars. This allowed us to jumpstart the work and build out some of the things that we needed. We were awarded that. We do have early admin funds at this time. We received about $5 million between the two programs to start some of our work. We submitted our full applications for the IRA programs, one in late July and the other one in mid-August. We are currently in negotiations with DOE right now. We're answering their comments and providing all the feedback that they need, hoping those awards happen here in the next month or so. In October, December, we're planning to conduct public input sessions. These will be critical for our implementation blueprint work that we're doing. And we're hoping in the first half of 2025 to have our blueprints completed and submitted to DOE, which we have to have 60 days. We have to submit 60 days prior to launch. And then we're looking for a program launch June to September of 2025. I will say that we are at launch, multifamily will be the priority as well as low income and the low income category. And this is primarily because our multifamily software and process is approved already. And the single family, because of all the requirements that are with single family energy modeling, we will have to, that will be launched at a later date. So just put that on your radar. We do plan to launch around mid-2025, but it will focus on multifamily and low income at launch. And for all updates, next slide, please. Just sign up for our listserv. We should be doing, once we're approved from DOE, we'll be updating our webpage and providing more context of the program design. If anyone has any questions, if we have time.
Thank you so much, John. I think that's a really crucial and exciting presentation to have in real time. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today and presenting. Yes, and with that, we do have time for questions. I think I see some popping up. Max, do we have any Q&A in the chat?
There are no unanswered questions in the chat, so go ahead and ask them.
This is kind of a specific question for Darnell Tingle. If there's any more information that can be shared about the workforce hub in East St. Louis, like any information about what types of jobs or employers they'll be working with or the timeline?
still working through that. We're waiting on funding to finally get approved. We were just made official that we will be working with the hub as navigators. So there is a budget in place, and we're hoping that all that gets started no later than January. But we're waiting on funding to drop down first before we can do anything.
Thanks so much. I was just curious.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's a great question. And next, Lauren, I see your hand is up.
Hi there. Yes, this is a question for John. Just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your hard work. This is across the agencies, but really impressed with what a small office is able to do, and how you're turning this around in a quick timeline. If you could imagine a best case scenario, what would the ideal rollout of this program look like at the municipal level? If you got to choose, if you got to say, hey, municipal staff members, this is what would be really, really helpful in starting to promote and advertise and educate community members about what's available, what would that look like?
At the time of launch, yeah, I would say there's a couple different routes. So we'll have like an application portal once we do launch, and I think that if we need to do webinars, if there's ways that you could assist and help us set up like we could do like similar today, 30-minute webinars, just updating individuals or have them available, or if there's some feedback from you guys of like what works well in your community, if it's recorded webinars or certain types of materials, I think that's what we want to hear too, because we can get you the resources that you might need in order to help. But I think maybe we need to start thinking about like what's going to work best locally for you guys, and that's what our public input sessions are really going to be before coming up in the next few months. And I'm looking forward to that feedback because I think it's going to be important. I think from our program, we're going to be utilizing the community action agencies for a lot of our outreach. There's 30 of them that'll be a part of our program. And if you're familiar with those, I think connecting in your area, if you're working with them in any capacity, I think connecting with your local community action agency and start thinking about how to do outreach would definitely be valuable thing to do. And as we get closer, we'll be definitely keeping everybody updated and also providing more resources that the communities can use. I don't know if that answered exactly, but part of me is like we're still working on some of that, so yeah.
It does very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question, Lauren. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Any other questions for our panelists?
Yeah, I have a question. Larry Evans.
Yes, Larry, go right ahead.
I'm interested in building an insulated concrete farm home. And I was wondering what state agency with the EPA Energy at illinois.gov be a good place to start research on what might be available for that opportunity.
Yeah, for building that type. We don't have. I'm trying to think of the best resource for you. So an insulated concrete home. I'm not sure if it would be Energy Code might be a better place to go. I can get it. Shoot me your email and I'll see what I can find for you. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly where you would go for that type of structure.
Okay, I'll put it in the
Drop
chat.
it in the chat. Yep, and I'll see what I can find for you.
All right, any other questions? If not, thank you all so much for taking time to attend our webinar today. And thank you very much to our co-hosts, the offices of Senator Tammy Duckworth, of Representative Nikki Budzinski, and Senator Paul Faraci, and to United Congregations of Metro East and Sierra Club Piasa Palisades Group. And thank you also to our guest speakers from the US DOE and the Illinois EPA for sharing such incredible information. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. And thank you and have a great day.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Angela. Larry, I got your email. Thanks.
Thank you.